Hello everyone, welcome back. We'll start chapter 11, module 13, wireless LAN configuration. Yeah, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So you will notice that a lot of the content of this chapter is basically step-by-step configuration, right? So what we'll do is we'll go through, I'll explain briefly about what's the purpose, okay, for that configuration. And then because the configuration is basically step by step, which means if we want to do it configuration for the packet tracer exercises, then or activities, then you just simply need to follow the step. Okay, don't miss any of the steps, lah. Right? And if you have any questions about a particular step, right? Maybe you're not sure what that step is, then you can just let me know. Yeah, let me know, highlight and let me know. Raise up your hand, right? But a lot of things is that I will explain what's the configuration for, right? And then very briefly go through the steps because the steps just following the steps, yeah? All right, so inside this chapter, we're going to look at setting up or configuring remote site wireless LAN, okay? Then configuring wireless LAN using WLC, okay? And we'll be configuring security WPA2 PSK authentication on it, right? And then we'll do a WPA2 enterprise wireless LAN configuration on the WLC as well, right? That means including the radius server, right? um, and a few other services like SNMP and DHCP. These are typical services that is required if you are using wireless LAN. Okay, because whether we are using WLC or that means autonomous or centrally configured AP, it's the same thing. Yeah, the same configuration need to be set up on your AP, right? And then finally, we'll look at some of the technique or ways if you're having wireless connectivity issues, right? The things that you can check out, yeah, to do troubleshooting, right? That comes under troubleshooting wireless LAN issues. All right, so first, let's have a look at remote site wireless LAN configuration. Right, so for this section, because it's not really theory, I'm not going to go through all the videos with you, but please realize that the video is available on your NetAcad, so you can view that on your own time, yeah? Right? Right, so the video, first video is basically how to use the wireless router web page. And this one is for the autonomous AP, yeah? Right? How to change the password, changing the wide area network and local area network settings, and connecting your client to the wireless network. Right? So in these few slides, early few slides, we are actually looking at autonomous AP. That means they are independent. Okay, this is typically how you deploy for small office or home office or your home environment, right? So you can see that in here, in this kind of topology, we I think using a WLC is going to be overkill, right? It's still manageable if you only have a few AP. Then autonomous, you can use autonomous AP, right? Because the security still can be configured on the autonomous AP as well, and quite secure for small network, right? And usually, we are when we are configuring autonomous AP, they are the integrated type of for home, right? Integrated type of device, infrastructure device. Meaning to say, they combine like here, they combine the AP with the switch, okay, and the wireless router, okay, allow so that to allow whether it's wired or um, Wi-Fi network allow them to cross traffic. Meaning to say, if you have if the wired network, this is LAN, yeah, is a LAN. Wireless IP is another LAN. You allow traffic from the wired local area network and the wireless LAN to traverse each other using the router inside. Yeah, but the integrated router also will be allow you to access the internet if there is an internet port here, right? And usually this integrated device can then connect to your modem. Okay, two separate devices. Usually, even with our service here, with Unify or TMNet, right? You have a modem that allows you to connect to ISP, right? Okay, right. So how do you configure? Usually, your technician that install the integrated device in your home, okay, or your small office, will already configure a default, usually default password, right? Some technician will ask you what password would you like to use, and then let you configure the password itself. But most times it's default. If you purchase it yourself, then uh, basically there's a default, and it depends on manufacturer for and the brand of your integrated AP, right? But you normally admin is the name given. If you purchase, again depend on the what. And normally this information is comes inside the box. Okay, right? Because to configure usually is using some form of web-based application where the first screen you'll see will be a challenge for your credential, your username and password, right? Before you can be allowed to access to the configuration setting. Okay, the GUI, but usually it's a web-based GUI, right? So you access it through your web browser. Okay, type in. There's no domain name, so the URL include the IP address for your router. Again, by default, you can usually check the label at the bottom of your integrated device, or the technician will have provided to you. Okay, so type in the IP address, then usually it's port 80, right? So you don't need to type in the port, and then it will show you that credential challenge. Once you authenticate yourself, you can be shown the configuration screen. Now, what is available there? Usually the standard configuration will be there, but other additional features, it depends on the model and the brand of your integrated device, right? Right. So the steps to do that is basically log in to the router from your any web browser once you connect. But usually, if your Wi-Fi is not configured yet, you can do it using your wired normal Ethernet cable, right? If you are still using the default admin password, now is a good time in your first login to change that, right? To change that, normally you will be logged out and asked to log in again using the uh, default admin password. Now, manual security is still needed, right? Because usually the consumer version, there's a small hole where you can stick a pin in to reset your router. When you set, I'm sorry, the integrated device. When you reset, all the configuration will be lost. Okay. All right. So just in case you forgot your password, right? Okay. But then you must know all the other details to allow your integrated device to connect to ISP, right? So if you don't do reset unless you know you have all this information, because if you don't know how to configure it again, you'll find that now you have a non-working uh, access point slash router slash switch slash, right? So make sure you don't have all these devices before you reset. Okay, just because this is just in case you forgot your password, right? Okay, right. So you might want to change, or might you want to leave it. That means this default IP version 4 addresses means the IP version 4 address that you use to access your your integrated device. For me, I just leave it lah. I just normally leave it, right? Okay. Right. So basic wireless setup, right? So you can change your network mode, usually is in not ad hoc, right? Not ad hoc infrastructure mode. Which standard you want to use? Usually you want, depending on device you have to connect to your wireless network. Okay, choose the latest version available on your AP that is supported by your client. No point you set to the latest standard, but your client does not support it, then they cannot connect. So choose the latest that is supported by your clients. Configure your SSID. You choose, this one is up to you. What SSID you want to choose, because at for autonomous AP, usually we don't hide the SSID. Again, it's up to you. Configure the channel. So how do you know the channel, which channel to use? Usually, what I'll do is I open my phone, download the app to scan through the Wi-Fi signals around me and look at their channels. Then I pick a channel that is empty. That means there's no overlap, right? Okay, so that I don't have interference from any AP nearby, right? Then, of course, you will want to choose WPA2. If you have clients that support WPA3, then you can choose WPA3. But usually, most of clients right now is still on WPA2. So choose WPA. Don't choose open or WEP. Most device now comes with WPA2 selected by default. Then you configure your passphrase. This password needed to associate your device to the access point, right? So here, wireless mesh is basically to scale up the range of your Wi-Fi. Okay, with a single Wi-Fi access point that comes with your provider, your ISP. Probably it's where you locate it inside your home or inside your office. Then you can basically tell when the signal will go down, right? If you find that some parts of your home or your office cannot get the signal, or the signal is degraded, then you need to extend the reach of the access point. So one way is to create a Wi-Fi wireless mesh network. Notice that we are not talking about extender. You can buy extender, but you can now you can actually create a mesh network which is better, right? It's cheaper also already. Okay. Last time we used not to do this because it's usually more expensive than just buying an extender, right? Okay. Usually nowadays, if you buy the mesh network, okay, it's an addition to your network. It basically allow you to expand the reach of your Wi-Fi. Usually it's plug and play, right? You only need to set basically configuration, and if I'm not mistaken, most of the brands, they have an app in the Google Store, so you can download the app. It runs on your phone. You connect your phone to your mesh network, and then again you can configure. And again, this is depending on the model and brand of the mesh network. Okay, ISP nowadays also now start with a higher subscription or extra payment. They also provide you mesh capability, right? So check out mesh first before using a normal extender, because definitely mesh network is better than using an extender. Right, so here we talk about network address translation, right? Depending if your ISP support IP version 4 or IP version 6 also, net definitely will be available. And normally you don't have to configure this one, just for your information. If you see the network address translation, this to allow multiple devices in your wireless LAN to connect to the internet, right? By using a single global facing IP address, IPv4 address that is provided to you by, and normally it's dynamically allocated, okay, provided by your ISP. This allow you to connect to the internet, because internet needs a internet routable IPv4 address. So what about all the devices inside your wireless LAN? Well, the NAT service will translate, okay, will translate for you, and it's running on your integrated device, right? So basically, you don't have to do anything on this, right? If you have IPv6 and ISP has IPv6 available, you'll notice that if your device also use IPv6, then each of them will have a unique IPv6 address, and no configuration need to be done, because usually you are set to connect to the DHCP that's enabled by your ISP. Okay, and the ISP DHCP will provide the IPv6 addressing for all your device that's supporting IPv6, right? IPv4, well, you have to rely on NAT. Okay, and the internet routable IPv4 address that is, outward facing from your wireless LAN is dynamically allocated. Once you connect, via the modem, you connect to your ISP, that IP address is provided automatically to you, unless you buy the static IP address, which is actually payable every month, right? But I don't think you need it unless you're running a server that you buy a domain, and then link them together, right? Some people, they do run their own server, but if you have ADSL, it's not worth it because normally it's not balanced. Okay, the upload speed is usually very low compared to the download speed. But if you are using Unify, I think it's balanced, right? The upload and download speed is balanced. So maybe if you're using Unify, then your server is much better Okay, maybe it's not for the public. Maybe it's for yourself when you're outside, right? When you're outside, you have your own cloud, or you have your own server with providing services. Then later we'll look at port forwarding. Then you can then don't have to remember the global IP address given by your ISP, because if you link your domain name, then you can just type your domain name, right? Incidentally, domain name also have to be subscribed, pay yearly. Okay, right. So one of the configuration available is quality of service. Here the configuration is that if you want to ensure better performance for your voice and video streaming, then you enable QoS for that, right? High priority, so that it will be prioritized compared to the not so time critical communication like email and web browsing. All right. So this is one of the things. Again, the availability of this, it depends on your integrated device. Then here I talk about the port forwarding. Okay, this is a way for you to provide access to maybe any services, like for example, web server service, right, to outside of your wireless LAN or your LAN. That means you're outside there, not connected to your network, but you're connected to internet, right? The port will open the ports. Port forwarding will allow your integrated device firewall to allow access inside your LAN, right? Okay. Be careful, don't open. You must know what you're doing. So if you're using you're having your your own web server, then just open that port, right? Port 8, right? But nowadays, I don't think you should do that anymore, because there's so many free hosting out there. So right, they have better security. All right. So packet tracer on that just now, configure wireless network. These are the activities should be, okay. Right. So let's just go to the next section. Just now was autonomous access point. Here we want to do on lightweight access points, where we consider using centralized way to configure. That means wireless LAN controller, right? So do watch the video on your own when you have time. Right, so let's see, look at this example here. We have a router, okay, and then we have the radius. You know, the radius is for security reason, right? Authentication, right? Central authentication. And then we have a switch, wireless controller here, and a lightweight access point here, okay? And example of a device connecting wirelessly to that. And all the addresses are given here, right? Okay, so I think we have already mentioned about this, right? Why we have WLC. This is a situation where in an organization with a need of larger wireless networks, where you must have more than a few access points. Means you have a large number of access points that require monitoring and maintenance from you, and it becomes tedious to do it one by one individually. So in this topology, the only thing that you need to configure is this central location, WLC, or the wireless LAN controller, and all the configuration will be distributed to all the other APs, right? So what do? First, you log in into WLC, right? You will be present. This one is example from Cisco WLC. Yeah. The first thing you notice when you log in is that you show this network summary, and then if you want to see the access points that is controlled by the WLC, then click access points, right? And in this example topologies, now we have one access point, AP1, and then here are the details about it, right? And how will you know, okay, you have access points connected? Because normally on a Cisco network, their devices also run, unless you disable for security reason, will normally run CDP, which is Cisco Discovery Protocol, right? It just enable all devices to find out about what devices are, available on the network, right? So via the CDP, you'll see that the access point is connected, right, to the fast Ethernet port 1, okay, on the switch, right? So in this topology, the Cisco, the AP is we using is the Cisco Aeronet. This is the model, right? So that means this model has got a few basic iOS commands, right? Of course, because it's just an AP, it doesn't have um, depending on what functions provide, then you'll see that you can access those commands, right? Right. Okay, so most WLC comes with basic setting that you can access, right? But as a network administrator, you will want to access more advanced settings. So click on the advanced, okay? Upper right corner it says here. Then you can access the other features. Right, so at the back plate, what you can see is that you have two layer 2 switch ports, right? Virtual interfaces will be inside, so you won't be able to see it, but you can configure it, right? So each physical port that you have can support many AP, right? And wireless LAN, right? The port on the WLC are trunk ports, which can carry multiple VLANs frames, okay? So each AP can support multiple wireless LANs, okay? Because again, you can tag multiple VLANs, okay? Right, so steps to configure the wireless LAN is here. Create your wireless LAN, click apply, and it will enable the wireless LAN. Select which interface the involved with the wireless LAN, then configure security. Then you verify that operational by having a device try to connect to the access point, right? And then you see whether if it's connected successfully, you will see that the device connected to the wireless LAN, right? By having access to this wireless client information. Okay, all this viewable in the WLC. Yeah. So step by step, you can see the steps and then the view for AerrorNet. Okay. So if you're successful, you can see the wireless clients connected to your IP, right? Right. So in the for exercise on that just now, step by step configuration, right? You can do it in Packet Tracer, right? So next section, we'll look at configuring WPA2, the security for enterprise wireless LAN on the WLC. Okay, remember autonomous AP, you can also set WPA2, but here we learn how to do that in WLC. Okay, so we configure WPA2 using SNMP and Radius. In fact, SNMP and Radius is not, the details are not actually part of the syllabus, but we'll show you how to configure that in here, right? SNMP stands for Simple Network Management Protocol. Again, that is an open standard. So basically, if you have a server at the server side, you have the SNMP server, or the SNMP client. How do you make it client? Means you run the service, the SNMP client service in your host device, and the client will send all the SNMP, whatever client you install, they will collect this information and send it to the server. So as a administrator, you just need to have a dashboard to see all your clients' information. So what information? It depends on what SNMP client you install in the clients itself. And it's good for monitoring, your large network, right? That means usually your dashboard you'll see the topology, you'll see all the, for example, like this one, you see here, you can see whether it's uptime, whether it's online, offline. You can even set up the SNMP to display the detail. If you like click on the client, the detail info about what the OS is in there, right? How many gig RAM is there, and so on, right? So depends on what you enable. Right, and then Radius is basically for authentication, right? Authorization accounting. So the logs is kept there, right? To authenticate is there. What you are allowed to do is also stored there. So it's Radius server, right? So the authentication for WPA2 using Radius server centralized means you have to create the user credential in your Radius server. So whenever a device try to connect to your AP will connect to your Radius server and try present you with the credential of the user using that client device. Okay, so which means the user, when they try to connect to the AP, they need to provide the credential. Then the AP will take the credential and forward it to the Radius server. The Radius server will check its database, assuming that the Radius server already authenticated the AP, right? Check whether your credential is there. If it's there, is it valid? Yes. And then Radius server will reply to AP. Then AP will then allow association, right, between the AP and the client device. Okay. Right. So here is a configuration, step-by-step configuration, right? So I'm just let you guys read because it's very straightforward. Just basically click, right? Okay. All right. So the next one is about configuring a VLAN for a new wireless LAN. So basically, even wireless LAN, because we configured VLAN for wired network. It means wired networks just, and between wired networks and wireless networks is just the difference between the medium, right? So if we can create a VLAN, virtual LAN for wired network, that means we can also create a virtual LAN for the wireless network. What does it mean? Means depending on the client setup, in the radio server, right? If the client authenticate, okay, then the radio server will already know that, okay, that client belongs to which VLAN, right? Okay, any questions on that part? Is it clear, that part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, Farah?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, sure. Without VLAN, any client connecting to the without VLAN configuration, any clients connecting to the AP belongs, that means they can talk to each other already because they belong to one single wireless LAN. When you start creating a virtual LAN for your wireless LAN, means when the user connect, okay, radio server configure, you're already configured, right? Will know that that client belongs to this VLAN, that client belongs to VLAN, right? You can create one VLAN only, but you can also create more than one VLAN. So that means each client connecting, depending on their credential inside the radio server, you already know, okay, this device connected, maybe this one belong, not maybe, definitely, because you already configured, belong to this VLAN. If they belong to different VLANs, even though they connect to the same AP, they cannot talk to each other, right? Unless you allow the router to forward their message between their VLAN, right? Between the two VLANs, right? So whatever you learn about VLANs on wired network, okay, also operates the same way for wireless LAN, right? So, all right. So each wireless LAN configured on the wireless LAN controller will need its own virtual interface. So the wireless LAN controller has 5 physical data ports, right, that can be configured to support multiple wireless LANs and virtual interface. The new wireless LAN will use interface. So this one is the example here. The new wireless LAN we're using will use the interface for VLAN 5 with and this VLAN network address is 192.168.5.0/24. So that means router 1 or is configured to recognize VLAN 5, right? Okay, so you can see the interface VLAN is 192.168.5.254, right? So access point 1 is VLAN 5. Okay, remember, we don't only have one AP, or else we just use autonomous AP. But this is lightweight AP because we are using WLC. So maybe another AP, where the device connect could be configured for a different interface VLAN 5. I'm sorry, not VLAN 5, another different type of VLAN. Maybe VLAN 6, maybe VLAN 10, right? But here, the example, we have one AP, one VLAN 5 configured, okay? So if you want to configure VLAN, right, interface on the WLC, step is create a new interface, configure the name ID as usual, right? You got an ID, VLAN 65410, and then its name, right? Configure the port and interface address, right? Configure the DHCP server address, apply, confirm, and verify. Let me test the interface, right? So again, here is the step, okay, for that errornet, following the step. Step 1, click on the controller, right, and then interface new, right, configure the VLAN name, and so on. So this is step by step. So just follow through the steps, right? So at the end, click the interface to verify that the new VLAN 5 interface is shown. Okay, it should appear. Okay, and if you configured the IP version 4 address earlier on, then it should be shown with the IP version 4 address configured. Right. Okay, so the next one is a Dhcp scope, right? The Dhcp, remember, is a way to dynamically provide IP address and other information like DNS, gateway server, sorry, gateway address, right? So because this is wireless LAN, so we have to have DHCP, or else the device, every time you have to manually key in all the required information like IP address, gateway address, DNS server address, things like that, right? So that means, so in this section, it's about configuring the DHCP. So when the device connect, the device authenticated, associated, then the device need all the IP address information because it's dynamically set, right? Because it's wireless LAN, right? So the DHCP will provide that. The list will provide by DHCP. So here we configure. So the steps are create a new DHCP scope. This is done at the WLC as well. Yeah? Name that scope, verify that scope, configure, enable the new DHCP scope, then verify that this DHCP scope is enabled. Right. So again, step by step, right? How or where on the interface you need to do that. Right. Okay. So here I just want to take a moment to describe a bit. Right. So here under step 4, configure enable the new DHCP on the edit screen. Configure a pool of addresses. This one is decided by you lah, right? Because you might allocate some or all the addresses available to the wireless LAN, or just some, right? A range. So up to you, right? This is what called pool of addresses. Okay, the pool of addresses is where the DHCP server will take an IP address to list to the connected or associated client. Because the client connect, it needs IP address. The DHCP server will pick from the pool of addresses, right? So, example, maybe you only allocate between 240 to 249, right? So the pool will contain addresses from 240 to 249. So let's say a device connect. So the first available is 240. Then this 240 will be provided. Then the number of IP address here will go down, right? And it depends on how long you set the lease. Okay, the lease could be maybe forever, right? Or a time lease, maybe one day. After one day, the lease is revoked, and then the IP address is put back in the pool. And if the client wants to associate again, have to or want another, sorry, not associate, want another IP address because the lease expired, then have to request again DHCP, using DHCP, okay, using DORA. Yeah. All right. So okay. So here you can see the range of the addresses available. Then you know that you configured the DHCP already. Right. The next step here is to configure WPA2. This security, right? Encryption. Sorry. Security protocol, which include encryption, right? So let's have a look. Right. So by default, WPA2 is selected because WPA and WEP. WEP is definitely insecure already. So WPA is too old. WPA is the default. Coming soon, maybe new version of if the WLC allow update firmware update, then maybe it go up to WPA3, right? And the highest encryption algorithm is normally set as default also AES. Okay, right? So WPA2 we partner with AES, right? So remember that the traffic between the AP and WLC is encrypted as well. That one is using the different protocol, yeah, right? So you want to now we want to secure. Just now we set up the DHCP already, so we want to provide secure access using WPA2 and AES. In fact, for your autonomous AP, you also select this for personal, right? Okay, so in the enterprise, we set this that we want this to be the lightweight AP's security as well, right? So configure the wireless LAN to use the interface. Create the new okay. So this one, create the new wireless LAN. Configure the wireless LAN name and its SSID. Enable it. Okay. Verify the AES and S02.1X selected lah. Okay. It's by default, but just double check. Right? If it's not, maybe prior configuration, someone's configuration, misconfiguration, just double check, yeah. But it should be AES and S02.1X set, right? Then configure the wireless LAN security to use the radio server. That means authentication will happen at the radio server, right? And then you verify. So again, step by step, okay, where you click on the interface, what we talked about earlier on. So you can check AES is checked by default and it's using S02.1X as default under security. All right. Configure radio server, so select radio server, provide the IP address for your radio server. Because we are configuring this on WLC, your radio server is on not on the WLC, it's on a separate separate on its own on the server, right? So configure radio server basically means you want to specify what's the IP address for that server. Then after that, you verify that the new wireless LAN is available, right? Click on it, and then you can see whether the name that you have configured, like this one, wireless LAN. We created this one earlier on as an example, wireless LAN, right? So it's shown, then its configuration is done, means correct, it's available already. Right, so you can do this, right? Configuration in packet tracer exercises, right? Right, so I'm going to go very quickly with troubleshooting. Troubleshooting basically what happened if no connectivity, right? So let's look at what you can do. Okay, so the systematic way is step by step. First, identify the problem. What is the problem? Then after thinking about it, come up with a few theories, right? What is the probable cause? We don't know yet, but you guess, educated guess this part, right? So if you have more than one potential cause, go address them one by one. How? Test your theory. Okay, test your theory whether it's really true, right? Or maybe you said, oh, maybe I misconfigured the, just example, because maybe if you're using WL, maybe SSID different, or maybe my password, maybe your theory is, maybe my password, because you identify the problem. What is the problem? Maybe the problem is cannot associate, right? One of the theory is, hey, maybe the password, either the user use is wrong or the password I mistype. Okay, all right, from the configuration side. Then if you think that is a theory, test it. You ask the user, what is your password, right? What is the password you type? Right. If it's okay, then you check what is the password I configured. You go and check, right? That's the theory. Right. So once you discover, oh, all right, the password the user tell me is actually missing one character. So plan of action is, okay, inform the user of the correct password. Right. And then to verify, ask the user to try again. Right. And then all this from identifying a problem until verifying that it's fixed, you document it. Right. So these are standard troubleshooting approach, systematic way. All right. So we approach a few issues maybe causing why wireless client cannot connect. Okay. If there's no connectivity, it means no connection, right? So you can check the following first. Check your device connecting using ipconfig, because ipconfig, if you type it on command line, command prompt, you can see all the addresses. Check the addresses, right? Ping a known address, right? If you cannot connect Wi-Fi, connect wired. Then do a ping. If your wired working, then yes, okay, confirm lah, right? Wireless got something wrong, right? And then do all the layer 7 tests first. Means drivers, maybe your NIC wireless NIC is doesn't have the proper driver, or the driver not loaded, or whatever, something like that. You do because we do a step-by-step verification, right? So we start with application. This one is basically checking the application side, the driver, and the ipconfig basically checking IP address, means layer 3. Okay, we're checking by layer 3, right? Okay. What if the PC is working, all the things is okay, but when you connect, your Wi-Fi connectivity is poor, means slow, laggy, right? Well, is the signal strong? Out of the band coverage means you're maybe at the edge of the signal range, means signal already deteriorate, right? Looks, you know. So that means corruption can happen more often, means latency lah, slow. Check the channel. Is there overlapping channel causing interference, right? So check for interference. Right. So next, ensure that all the devices are actually where they're supposed to be, because it may be physical security. Someone have access to it and do something on it already, right? All the devices are just switch on. This one I think is very fundamental to see whether all the devices in your network that's supposed to be switch on, right? Check for if there's a wired cable connecting WLC to switch, your access point to the switch, all this. See whether there's any physical damage, right? Okay, this part this one, check physical layer 1, right? If you are able to, your device support this, also the client, means you can enable both 2.4 and 5, right? Enable them both rather than just this or this. Enable them both, and if you're capable, your device, your IP and your client device capable of 11N protocol, and in fact, this protocol can combine 2.4 and 5 gigas as if they are one, right? Okay, to help manage the traffic. Meaning to say, from your device, the low priority traffic will be sent through the 2.4 gigahertz automatically. And then device which needs 5 gigahertz, mean faster bandwidth, will be sent through the 5 gigahertz band, right? Okay, this one way you can improve your network if it's slow lah. Okay, sometimes client maybe through misconfiguration in their driver properties, they accidentally selected 11B or 11G, lower and low speed, because they're backward compatible. Check whether it's using the latest, the fastest and latest version, right? Selected. Okay, a misconfiguration this one, right? Okay. Okay. Right. So also sometimes dual band routers, because they have 2.4 and 5 gigahertz band, they're using the same network name. Okay, it's very useful to segment traffic, right? If you want to segment, then just use a different name for 2.4, different name for 5, so people can connect to separately, independently, to 5 gigahertz or 2.4, right? sometimes they are both using the same network name, SSID, right? Maybe it's useful to put like, oh, SSID 2.4 as the name, SSID 5 to differentiate lah, right? Or can connect separately, explicitly connect to individual frequency band, right? Again, it could be just placement of your access point. And if it's the best placement is actually as high as possible, right? If you put it low, more blockage can be encountered, and the signal doesn't spread so well. Okay, try to put it as high as possible. Okay, the placement, right? And then if you place it in the corner, there's a lot of things blocking it. Again, that's a bad placement. So see whether your placement of the access point is the optimal placement, right? Right. So again, it could be that it's simply out of range. So maybe you start to think about range extender, power line. Power line basically extending using the internal wiring, the electrical wiring, but you need to buy the power line adapter. Okay, use on power line. Right. Simply maybe there was a bug or there's some feature that's not optimized inside your access point. So simply by checking whether there's a latest firmware and you update it to the latest firmware will improve performance of your access point. This can be one of the reason also, right? And for the wireless controller under consideration, usually there's a button where you can that means you can click the button go to a specific address, okay, manufacturer, the Cisco, right, and see whether the firmware, there's an updated firmware, and download and apply it. And you normally reboot your wireless controller, wireless LAN controller, and then it will run with the latest firmware. And maybe there are some bugs or maybe some feature update, or it's just the code is being updated to make it run more efficient, right? All right, so and that's it. Right? Any question on the configuration?
No.
How about you, Kelvin?
No question.
All right, so if not, I will stop here because I know you guys need to prepare for 5 o'clock, right? So we'll use our BMIT Computer Network Google Classroom for our SBA. Yeah. Okay. I will create the meet now, right? And then invite you guys. I will share the link in our WhatsApp group. Okay. And you that means the Google Meet, right? Again, I will open it 15 minutes early. Right? Noel is here already. Okay lah, Noel. Good that you can connect. Are you still having electrical problem?
No.